Nation, you found yourselves locked on Bulls. I'm Matt. Joining me today, a recurring guest spot guy. He is John Sabine. Can't wait to get John's thoughts on the Dallas Bulls game that he was in attendance for on Wednesday night. We also, of course, have to break down the unfortunate news from yesterday. Bulls All-Star big man Nikola Vucevic out in health and safety protocols for the time being, and then we'll wrap up the show looking ahead to this 5-game road trip. That's all ahead on a fresh Locked On Bulls. Let's go.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here are your hosts, Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson.
What's up, and welcome in to Locked On Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team I'm Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. You can follow us at Locked On Bulls. You can follow my guest co-host, Mr. John Sabine, on Twitter at JSabine214. You know John as the man with the fingerless gloves, the man who made you laugh and made you think on those seasons of Bulls Outsiders for NBC Sports Chicago. He also is one of the best Twitter social media managers in the game right now. John, how are you, buddy?
Oh my God, the man that made you laugh and made you think. Like, put that on my tombstone, my man. Fantastic. I love it. I'm doing great. I'm honored to be here. That Locked On theme, like, gets me so jacked up. It's so good. So thank you for having me. I feel very blessed.
You know, it's a fun little ditty. But you know what? I've been watching a little bit more Scott Van Pelt late night Sports Center these days. You know, as we get into fall and winter, it's just like Sports Center late night keeps me warm, you know. And he uses that Bulls Outsiders theme song in like every episode. It drives me nuts.
And so, and then I'm trying to do the math of like, so Disney owns ESPN, but NBC Universal also like I was like, how did they have the same royalty-free music?
Right. Yeah. I feel like that, you know, that scene for like Charlie from It's Always Sunny, where he's got that huge billboard of conspiracy theory shit in the mailroom, trying to figure it out.
And I still have a small Pavlovian, like, oh God, are we coming back from air? Like, am I supposed to be doing something?
Totally. I hear it and I'm like, oh crap, I'm late for work.
Even the NBC Sports post game, like, dun, 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 I think like they need to. To me, that's Boylan sounds.
Right.
Like, and so when I hear that, I'm bummed when I hear that sound now, and I can't wait for it to change. When I'm like, oh, that's a sound of of celebration, of exaltation.
But in our brains, hearing that over and over and over, it was like your brain was trained to react to like physical punishment when you heard that. You're like, no, not again.
10:48 on a Wednesday night, and you have to talk about Chandler Hutchison having 2 points and no rebounds.
Yeah, one man's trash is another man's treasure, John. I don't know if you knew that.
One man's trash.
All right. Speaking of things that are upsetting, big news yesterday. Nikola Vucevic has been placed in the league's health and safety protocols. He did test positive for COVID. It is a breakthrough case, as the Bulls reported by NBC Sports Chicago last week, are a team that is 100% vaccinated. So very unfortunate for Vuce. I got to say, John, out of the gate, I blame Joel Embiid, because the Bulls played the Sixers twice last week, and then like right after that happened, Embiid tested positive, and Vuce was guarding Embiid for a couple of nights. So, you know, I know you're worried that Vuce accidentally gave COVID to Luka, and that's your primary concern.
If he gave it to Luka, I swear to God, Vuce, I'm coming. Me and the Jokic brothers are coming for the Vucevic brothers. I swear. I always want to know, like, what happened. Like, what is the red flag? Because after the game, everyone's hugging, right? All because like it's all the Baltic boys. You got Luka hugging and KP and all these people in Boban. Like, it's all like, hey, we used to be a country.
Right.
Let's hug. And why aren't they now? Like, I'm with this things of like, why is it just him when he's around people the entire time? I'm just the contact tracing part is like I understand why they don't disclose that because that would be pandemonium.
Right.
But like
Yeah.
I'm just interested. I'm like, so but why just him?
And I think, as the Bulls, one of several teams to deal with this last season, as we saw, missed guys for several games just because of contact tracing, because they were in proximity to somebody who tested positive, or, in proximity to somebody who was in proximity to somebody. But
Yeah.
that was for a league that was at that moment unvaccinated as a whole.
It did not exist.
Um,
The league, isn't that amazing to think that the season started and there was no vaccine?
Right.
Isn't that weird?
Which, as where we are now, you think about, okay, hopefully these breakthrough cases, it's just an inconvenience and none of these players are getting
Yeah.
seriously ill or even at risk of getting seriously ill. It's precautionary to try and stop the spread. But of course, there are basketball ripple effects to this as well. And notably the fact that a lot of Bulls fans said, oh man, if there's one position where we really couldn't afford to lose our starter, it's Vooch, because the depth at that spot is not where you would want it to be. We did see yesterday the Bulls recalled their second round drafted stash from last year, Marko Simonovic, who it seems like you're pretty stoked about. But
Yes.
if I'm Billy Donovan, I'm just saying next man up and giving Tony Bradley the start, at least to start this road trip, because he can give you some solid rim protection. He's pretty good on the glass. He doesn't offer you the playmaking ability that Vooch does, and certainly not the scoring prowess. But I don't think you necessarily need to overthink this if you're Billy Donovan. Just start Bradley and shift up your rotation.
This is an on paper scare, like because we lack big men. Like we don't have many. So when you lose like your only big man, they're pretty much it's. But also we're playing the Warriors, who don't like it. So like, what a great team to play athletic wings against and just run and see who's gonna like. And I just think it's gonna be fun. Like the Bulls are playing so well, and everyone rebounds above their position, and Vooch does not offer rim protection. So like, it's not like we're losing. If anything, like our wings and guards are better blockers than he is. And so like, I understand, like, yeah, you'd rather have Vooch. I mean, if it's between him, Lonzo, DeRozan, Lovin getting COVID, I think at this point we're like, okay, Vooch, take one for the team. Like over Lonzo right now. Like even Caruso. Like if any of those guys get it, I think it's more of a thing to address than this is just like, all right, well, we'll just have to hustle more and we know what we're giving up. It won't be a mystery.
Right. I think the silver lining, if there is one, is the fact that the Bulls have been winning more than they've been losing, in spite of the fact that Vooch has been a zero offensively. So, like, obviously Tony Bradley does not provide the 3-layered scoring threat that Vooch is when he's knocking down shots. And it is a real shame that in that Dallas game, it looked like Vooch was maybe starting to pull himself out of that slump. I think he was like 8 for 14. He had a decent night. He was scoring inside. He hit a 3. Like, at the same time, as you said, like everybody on this Bulls team makes up for their lack of size. Like some of the offensive rebounds that you see Javonte Green come down with, Derek Jones Jr. come down with, Alize Johnson, who got back into the rotation Wednesday night for the first time in 4 or 5 games. He had some big work on the boards. So like, I think you might see Alize Johnson get some more minutes in Vooch's absence. And maybe there is a little bit of a void offensive, because what Tony Bradley I think can't do is, yes, Vooch has been struggling with his shot, but you see the way that he adds to the Bulls offense with his playmaking and his passing. So underrated as far as elements of his game. I think he's averaging about 4.3, 4.4 assists per game so far this season. His vision and his swing passes to the weak side and those shallow pick and rolls that the Bulls run with either, Zach, DeMar, Lonzo, whoever with Vooch, Tony Bradley can't do that. So like, even though Vooch was slumping, they will take a hit as far as what they have in their arsenal offensively. You just hope that collectively they can pick up the slack. Zach, DeMar, Lonzo, occasional bench guys chip in with the scoring every night. You mentioned the Warriors maybe being a good team to start out against, but when you look further down the road, we'll talk about the road trip later on, but you got to deal with, Zubats, on the Clippers. You got to deal with AD, Dwight Howard, those big Lakers boys. You know, you got to deal with Yusuf Nurkic when you play the Blazers. You got to deal with Jokic when you play there's a lot of size the Bulls are about to go up against on this trip.
Which again, is either more so than not, lack of size has been chosen to be an advantage in this day and age of going small is not an admission of a weakness. It's a presence of a strength. And so I think this team is also built for those small ball. Let's just outrun, outscore. And Vooch has been something, but if Vooch is your first or second best player, that's not a team you want. And I just want Bulls fans to be grateful that he's kind of slumping, and we did not sign that contract. So stop looking at his contract as a way to judge his productivity. And we didn't sign it. It wasn't right. He's going to make what he's going to make. Who cares? We're winning games. He's playing. He's being productive, and he's not costing us stuff. Done. That's all you need. I think we people are, the fact that there are people I've seen on Twitter, people lamenting being first or second in the conference,
right?
And that because Vooch isn't having a 2010 on the regular,
looking at a couple of good Wendell games down in Orlando and being oh, big mistake, Bulls.
Big mistake. Yeah, when the Magic next make the playoffs in 2050. Right. Talk to me.
I think the last time I checked, Orlando's 3-9 or something like that. But we made a big mistake getting Vooch.
And it's one of those things where no, we don't. If he's having 20 and 10, that's bad for the team. I think he did it on bad teams. I think it's let's let him. He's good. He's a pro. He's older. Playoffs. Judge this man by the playoffs.
Yeah. All right, John. I also want to get your thoughts on that Bulls Mavs game from Wednesday night. Before we do that, though, you have to tell our listeners. John's going to do some ads for y'all today, guys. I would say at least once a week when we would walk into the studio, NBC Sports Chicago, for Outsiders games, you had a sack of McDonald's that you got on your way to the studio.
I did. And I was very proud of it. Because as you know, Matt, this episode of Locked On Bulls is brought to us by McDonald's, which is, proudly been serving communities since 1965.
Wow.
Yeah. Civil Rights Act, and then boom, McDonald's. It's always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and or family can come and reconnect. A place where classmates can meet up for a study group, knowing they'll have dependable Wi-Fi. Can you believe that? Endless supplies of French fries and McFlurries. It's a place you always look forward to stopping at on a long road trip to rest your legs and refuel. And you called it. There were times where, because I had a day job, and then I'd go so I was exhausted sometimes, and I had to go to a meeting and then rush over. It was just a long day. And sometimes McDonald's was the oasis for me. And I would get the same thing, some sort of chicken sandwich, fries, and a small drink. And it would bring me so much joy. And so thank you, McDonald's, for bringing me joy on those cold winter nights when the Bulls would lose by 30. So here's the call to action. Head to your local McDonald's to refuel and connect. Did somebody say Locked On Bulls watch party? Oh. I wasn't supposed to say that, but I wanted to so badly. McDonald's. Buda Pupati. McDonald's.
Man, there were some nights where John would just bring fries for everyone in the green room, and those were just the
people
best
like
nights.
Fries. People like fries.
It was such a lovely break from the vending machine down the hall that I got so sick of and so mad at.
That still had Snackwell's cookies. How did you still have this? This stopped in 1998.
It was a vending machine from 1965 when McDonald's was created and started serving communities.
And the coffee machine wasn't Keurig. It was a pouch that NBC Sports, they were we'll buy the prototype. There's only one. So every time you had to do it, it was defusing a bomb. You're a pouch? I don't know what this is. I
was afraid of it. It took us a month to figure out how that coffee machine works.
Truly a month. And we asked people, they're we don't know. And it's there's no regular coffee? What is this place?
Oh my goodness. We're in the place where nothing makes sense. We were also watching Jim Boylan coach the Bulls every night, so truly nothing made sense. Today's episode, by the way, is also brought to you by our great friends at Bet Online, who are back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the NBA season, more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So you deposit $100 with a new account, they're going to give you 50 extra to play with. Just use promo code Locked On to receive that welcome bonus. For basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC fights, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. John, you know I'm throwing down some same-game parlays for this Bulls-Warriors game tonight, and I'm going to do it at BetOnline, which is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Speaking of fun games, John, you were at the United Center Wednesday night for Bulls Mavs, sitting there probably just racked with nerves like a father in the stands watching his two favorite children playing against each other on opposing teams. What was it like? Because correct me if I'm wrong, this was your first time back at the UC since our last Outsiders show from the UC, which was also Bulls Mavs, and it was like 2 days before the league shut down.
It was Carlisle was the coach, right? Like, it was crazy. I don't know, the fact that they let us into the locker room, like, we're like, what were they thinking? Like, COVID was around. Anyway,
Bulls PR got mad at us for schmoozing with Zach and taking a picture with him in the tunnel. Remember that?
And he came up to us. Yeah, he came up to
us.
Like, yeah, we didn't like approach him, that made me feel so cool. So it was great to be back to UC. I saw like the new atrium, looks amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was really fun. I got to tell you, one of the most bizarre internal experiences I've ever had. So I got tickets from the Mavs. So like I'm currently like doing a project with the Mavericks, full disclosure. And so I was like gonna rep the Mavs because it's their tickets, right? It was in the section of Mavs. So I'm decked out and I'm like cheering. I'm being such a Mavs homer. And I'm watching this team, and like as the game is going on, obviously there's a lot. We're not gonna talk about the Mavs. There's nothing to discuss. I was like, every time like the Mavs would like do something bad and the Bulls would capitalize, I would like be sad and then like incredibly proud and happy. Like, and I just was like watching Zach LaVine. He was quiet in that first half, and then he had like 6 or 8 points right in a row, and I was like, I love this man, and I love Lonzo. I love Caruso. Like, I was bummed because I want the Mavs to do well, and like I love Luka, he's my son. But I was like, hey, like it felt like it was like Ned Stark and Jon Snow. It's like, this is my bastard son, and he can't be my heir, but he's the one I would choose, right?
Yeah,
like even though we know he wasn't a bastard son, it's the whole thing. Lyanna Stark, but we don't have time. But I love this Bulls team, and I was like, yeah, that's what and how it happened is how I thought it would happen, and it was like, wow. The Bulls do not make mistakes. And not only that, they capitalize on other mistakes. And everyone is a bucket. Yeah. That's kind of all you need in the NBA, right? Like, it's kind of that simple. Don't talk to me about Patrick Williams. Like, don't talk to me about, like, we got ballers. And, like, Mavs could have gotten Lonzo, DeRozan, or Caruso. Either one of them would be the third best player on their team. And they decided, no, we're good. We don't need them.
Yeah.
Like, the fact AK went out and made a team in a year, and so by the end of it, like when Zach did that 360 dunk,
oh my dude,
I stood up and I'm in a Mavs jersey. I'm wearing my Lukas, and I'm cheering. Like, I'm like, this is amazing. The UC is electric. It's electric. Yeah. And I'm so, pun intended, bullish on this team, and like. Also, don't hire me for NBA team, because if I cover your team, they get terrible and they lose. That's what I've learned.
Come on, dude. What are the Mavs, like 7-4, 8-4?
Yeah, we're fine.
Like,
it's fine. And the problems are like so fixable. It's just like, don't start to wipe out. You're fine. But man, this team and I love Zach. I feel like we have been with Zach LaVine, right? Like, it's like, man, like we bought stock. Like, that's our indie movie, like. And it's winning the Oscar. I'm like, yeah, this low budget, right. I just love him. And this team, I mean, this one of the most likable teams in recent memory, and they might not have an All-NBA player.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
you could like Zach and DeMar are. Well, I can't remember where they were after the game from Wednesday night, but I think coming into Wednesday night's game, they were like 4th and 6th in the NBA in points per game. And,
wow.
and they're kind of like splitting the assists, from their
Yeah.
playmaking. So like neither of them are averaging 6. I think they're each averaging like 3.5 or 4 or whatever. But like, yeah, like they are both. And Zach's numbers efficiency wise aren't even where they were last season because he's
No.
dealing with this thumb that's kind of got his shot a little wonky right now. So
And
I
DeMar's
mean,
hot.
oh my
But like
gosh.
even that 360 dunk, it's a Lonzo pass.
Right. Oh my god.
55.
Did you see it from that one angle from directly behind Lonzo? And he went like he
Yes.
almost took Dwight Powell's head off. It was crazy.
That doesn't happen last year with any like it's these pieces that are like it's what basketball is the best. Like basketball
Right.
is easier than we think sometimes, right? Like it's kind of just going to get a bucket and
Yeah.
or denying a bucket at the end of the day. Like, and that's why Jordan's the best. There was no one better at getting a bucket and no one better at denying you a bucket. And man, this team, so it was weird. I was so like, but I left feeling like so excited and happy and pumped, even though the team I went to go cheer lost.
Right.
And I was like, I could run through a wall.
Different feeling.
Yeah.
It's a
I was like,
feeling.
this team, because we watched, like, I feel like you can't, it's such a lesson in human nature of like, you know how like your college friends are like, oh, the ones that were in my dorm.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, if you're just around people, you figure it out. Like, and it's like, oh, we were around this team. We were around Zach. I would take Zach LaVine is an all-timer to me now. Like he's in my top 5 personal favorite players.
Like we're so protective of him because like we were there when like, parents who are finally seeing their children blossom after going through the literal shitty parts where it's like we're changing diapers, we're cleaning up puke in the middle of the night and now it's like, oh, look at him play. Yay. Yay.
Yeah, we're the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang director watching Iron Man, and I was like, I told you Robert Downey Jr. wasn't cashed out. Like he was in rehab, but then I cast him in this small movie. Now he's Iron Man. It's such a good feeling, and like, man, this Bulls team should, and I love that it's getting national press. It's like PTI, it's getting all the sports shows, all the basketball talk show podcasts. So this team. Caruso is I can't get over how good this man is. I do not want to like him. I do not want to like the idea of him because I think like it's Laker overblown, it's white American overblown. So that we always love those guys more. Like not we, but like media. And I'm like, man, he's the guy. He's the guy. He's the guy. He's so good, man. This team. I mean, Derrick Jones Jr. would be start for the Mavs.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw something recently on Twitter early this morning, like maybe Caruso starting to get some 6th man of the year talk if he keeps playing like that. I mean, I think he's leading or second in the league in steals right now. He has nights like Wednesday night where he pours in 16 points in addition to the defense he plays. And the 6th man, that's a conversation we can have all season long. But before we move on to this road trip, John, I want to, speaking of Caruso, to get your thoughts on what the Bulls did as a team and individually to kind of shut down Luka. And like, you only shut down Luka so much. He had, I think it was like 20, 10, and 8 was his final stat line. But the 20 came on 6 of 18 from the field. And, the one thing that the Bulls as a team, I think, did poorly defensively was just, a little bit of overfouling. And Luka and the Mavs got to the free throw line a lot. But Billy Donovan said after the game, it's like with players like Luka, you're just kind of at the whim of, are they locked in tonight or are they kind of having an off night? And you take the good with the bad. From your perspective, and someone who watches Luka pretty much every night he plays since he started his NBA career, was Luka having an off night or did Caruso, Lonzo, Javante, did the Bulls players defensively deserve some credit for what they did against him?
100% they deserve credit. 100%. They made it hard for him, but also they made him like Lonzo had 7 threes, right? Lonzo went at him and he outscored Luka. Like he scored more points than Luka. He had 7 3. Like he took it personal. I pushed back on the Luka locked in, locked out, or out of shape, in shape. Like I don't think he's out of shape. I think his body looks a certain way and people see like struggles, but I don't think at the end of the game, like he's the most clutch player in the world. Like he's not tired at the end of the games.
Right.
But he had 28 potential assists of people who had wide open shots, and he finished with 8, right, or 10.
Yeah.
And I think it's it's not a Luka problem. Like he got 28, and if so, half go in, that's 14, right? Like
right.
And it's just one of those things where people were missing wide open shots. And it's just he doesn't have the personnel. So I don't think it was 20, 10, and 8 is not an off night for anybody in the league. But the fact that like we kind of,
the fact that it's not like 28, 10, and 8, you're like, that's an off night for Luka.
And I also think like Zach, I don't think he gets near. You might disagree with this. I think he should be getting way more calls. Like I think he doesn't get near as many. He's just so big. And he's also like a complainer. And like he also hunted for fouls last year. So I think there's like we're not going to give you that. Which is like,
turn it off. He's not the only one Harden's dealing with that right now. Trae Young's dealing with that right now.
They're struggling way worse, Dame. They're all struggling way worse though because they don't have the size to like actually get the Harden kind of does. But like I do think Caruso is one of the best perimeter defenders. He's so much better than Chris Dunn. It's crazy because what he does actually makes sense in the team scheme. He's not just going rogue every day, right? Like it's just like, what are you done? Look around, talk to your teammates. But yeah, I think they absolutely deserve credit. And then making him work on offense, like they went at him and made him spend energy. But I also think like he's playing with some guys who shouldn't start in the NBA.
Yeah.
Whereas the Bulls aren't. Maybe one.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see where Dallas ends up because the Western, both conferences are just like a blender of weird right now. It's crazy, but there is an awful lot of talent out west.
I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves could beat anyone. Like, there's so much talent right now. There's like 3 teams that are taking, right? Thunder, Detroit, Houston. Everyone else kind of trying. Like
you might throw Orlando in there after the Vooch trade.
Orlando Spurs maybe, but like Cavs are going for it. Wizards and Bulls.
Cavs are weirdly good, and obviously Mobley has a lot to do with that. That kid's amazing. All right, we got to talk a little bit about this road trip. Before we do that, though, it's coming up on Thanksgiving time, John, and all of those good foods and treats and plenty of them. Maybe you want a yummy dessert, but one that isn't so full of calories and sugar. It's the perfect time, holiday time, to try Built Bars if you haven't already tried them. It's the new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it. One slice of holiday pie has upwards of 300 calories. Some of those pies, depending on what they are, maybe 400 or 500 calories. Crazy. Most Built Bars, only 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, but with plenty of protein. Built Bar is a great option for when you're hungry. If that Thanksgiving meal isn't coming soon enough, grab a Built Bar, grab 2, grab a mixed box from Built.com and try all of their delicious flavors. Share some of them at your family gatherings. It'll make things less awkward. Maybe John's drunk uncle will stop talking nonsense if John gives him a Built Bar because they're chewy and delicious. New surprises all month at Built.com, including limited time flavors arriving regularly. So be sure to check that website often. And there's nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. Mark your calendar. Black Friday at Built.com will be a huge event with all sorts of surprises and great deals. So go to BuiltBar.com today, tomorrow, any day, and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, John, 5-game West Coast trip. Warriors, who are 10-1. Both of the LA teams, Dame's Blazers, Jokic and the Nuggets. Where are you as far as like the Bulls come back from this West Coast trip with a blank and blank record called a good road trip?
3-2.
3-2. I think that's kind of where I'm at too. If you come back from that trip 3-2, kudos.
I think 3-2 is a success, right? Like, I think the Warriors are so good. I think the Clippers, everyone's playing good except the Blazers, and the Blazers are still good. Nuggets.
And Bulls fans know all too well what Dame has done to us. That Dame game from last season. God, I want vengeance for that one.
I hope you, because they for some reason that team doesn't work also. Like, but they're still good. Like, it's still like, again, like people were like acting like the Mavericks was a big win. And I don't. Maybe it was, but I don't think it was. It just there's so much talent right now. It's like you have to be really good. You have to have a really good team to even make the playoffs. You can't just let one person carry you anymore. Man, Clippers are like weirdly good. Like, I don't get it.
Beat the Heat last night. They didn't have Jimmy, but
still, like, that's insane to me. Like, their second best player is Reggie Jackson. I don't get it. Luke Kennard is like their third or fourth. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
you're relying on Reggie Jackson, Nicholas Batum, that's Zubats. Like, without Kawhi, that Clippers team looks a lot less formidable, and they're still finding a way to be competitive. That's why all five of those teams, like, I agree with you. You're not afraid of any of them, although maybe a little bit the Warriors.
Warriors. I think Warriors are terrified of.
I think. Yeah. I mean, Warriors in the Bay, that's the game you walk into and you're like, I don't expect
they've lost one game, right? Like,
right. They're 10-1.
Yeah.
10-1. And the crazy thing is they are on the brink of getting Klay Thompson back, who hasn't played in like over 2 years.
And Wiseman, which may mess them up. But like, they're still missing rotation players, right? Like, in theory, good. Like, Steph is the MVP. It's over now. Like, I think it's going to be over already, which sucks.
Yeah. Did he finish top 3 last year? Behind Jokic and Embiid? Or did he finish second?
No, it was Embiid second.
Okay.
He may, because it was like everyone was like, the bigs are back. Like,
right, yeah.
And like Embiid wasn't first team All NBA. It was like one of those weird things where he was second in MVP, but he had to be second team All NBA because of centers. I think this is scary. And if we lose this by 30, do not freak out. Like, and also don't freak out like on these like home road trips where you play the Clippers twice. I don't think these are cause for alarms. These are West Coast teams. You will not play them unless you go to the finals. It's okay if they match up and they beat you. We have a cushion. If we lose every game on this road trip, I wouldn't freak out. I think it'd be rare, but I'd be like,
right.
It's early. Those were designed, like, being away that long is designed to mess with you.
Yeah.
What
do you think about the Lakers so far? Obviously have dealt with a little mini LeBron absence stretch recently, but all of those random misfit characters, aging stars in their twilight of their careers. I mean, and simultaneously, I look at what Alex Caruso is doing for the Bulls, and I'm like, I so appreciate the fact that the Lakers were dumb enough to let him go.
I can't believe
I think they're really missing him right now.
Yes. My God, like he's doing at least what Russ is doing, right? Without any of the bad stuff. I love this Lakers team because I think it's because like it makes me feel young. It's like I want to believe that like 2 guys from the class of 03 can like
right. Can you believe that Melo was just out of the league for like a whole season?
He's 7th in scoring all time, like in the whole league ever. Like he's in the top 10 and he'll be there forever. Like not forever, for a long time. I love this team. I love that they're losing too. I think they're going to figure. I mean, they have Anthony Davis. I think they have a good coach and they've got boatloads of talent. Now the only way they can get is if they have old legs, right?
Right.
But Russell Westbrook always sucks at the beginning of every season, and then he always turns it on and becomes amazing in April or May. And you're like, of course. So what do you think? I still think they're like, if they go to the West Conference Finals, I'd be like, of course. I would not be shocked.
Small sample size, but I am not impressed, blown away, whatever you want to call it, with the ageless wonder that is LeBron James in the games that he's played this season. It could just be LeBron saying it's October, it's November, I don't care yet. Let's get a playoff seed and then I'll start caring. He, just looks kind of disengaged, and these misfit pieces around him, I don't think will, it's honestly, it's something that Charles Barkley said on an NBA on TNT broadcast sometime recently. And I was like, hey, Charles Barkley said something smart. he said if Anthony Davis isn't a top 5 player in the NBA this season, then the Lakers aren't going to win anything. And I think he's right. I think that LeBron is finally getting to that point where, okay, well, LeBron's going to, rest, DNP, whatever. Also kind of fighting through a nagging injury right now. These, misfit characters, I think the Westbrook thing is going to blow up in their face. Some nights he'll dazzle and some nights he'll cost you the game. But if LeBron doesn't turn it on until March, does he still have that in the tank to be like, okay, well, now I'm putting the gas pedal down, but do they come together as a team in enough time to make a playoff run? Unless Anthony Davis is like elite, I don't see it.
What I think they're totally fine. They didn't anticipate the West being this good, or both like the whole NBA, like the Grizzlies should make the playoffs, right? Like the Mavericks might make the play-in, and they have Luka. Like I think it's just like that theory works because I think Russ does everything. He's a mini LeBron. I mean, he can't shoot, but he gets you the rebounds, assists. He has boatloads of energy. He's everywhere. I think he's perfect for. I think I actually agree with the plan that they had laid out. But Anthony Davis again is like one of the most vexing superstars because no one trusts him, and he's arguably the best player in the league, but no one talks about him ever. No one really roots for him. He has like Ruffles ads, like he has weird sponsorships. So you're right. He has to be the best, and it should be his team. It's like, can it be like if Tracy McGrady joined the Bulls with Jordan, it would never be Tracy McGrady's team, right? Even if Jordan was 38. And maybe that's just it. It's just when you're with someone who's a god.
Not as much of an age disparity, but like when Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, it was still Steph's team and would always be Steph's team.
Yes. And
it's funny because like LeBron only arrived in LA 1 year prior to Anthony Davis.
I know.
Whereas like Steph was drafted by the Warriors, franchise player, and then KD comes in and it's like, hey, thanks for the help with the 2 titles, but this is my team. KD clearly felt that way and left. With LeBron and AD, I think it's more of like I'm close to retirement, passing you the torch, and let's try and win a couple together before I, hang them up.
They should, but LeBron feels like a Laker because the Lakers get guys like him. So it's like when he got it, no one was outraged. We were like, oh, of course. Like Shaq, Magic, Kobe, like he's part of that just fraternity of superstars who loves money and being warm, and who doesn't love that.
But when it comes to making playoff runs and title runs, unlike being in the East in the 2010s, like you were saying with the West and having all of those talented stacked teams, it's a minefield to get out of the Western Conference playoffs. In the 2010s East, LeBron was like, oh, Derrick Rose has a torn ACL. The Bulls are a thorn in my side, but I'll dispel them in 5 games. Am I worried about the young Roy Hibbert Pacers because everybody wanted to make
Lance Stevenson?
Am I worried about like the Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver Hawks who were the surprise? Like no. LeBron could skate until playoff time. For that entire run. Just skate. I don't think as he's aging in this West, I don't think he can get away with skating this year. I really don't.
I don't think you can skate, and I agree. I 100% agree with that. But I think they'll make it. Like I just think like
when you say make it, you mean like to the finals out of the West?
Playoffs. I think they'll make the play. I think they'll make the playoffs, and then once they're there, depending upon matchup. But like, God, can they beat Utah? Like, can they beat the Suns? I think they can beat the Suns. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And on the other side, the East has never been stronger. Like, I mean, the Central Division.
The 2 teams that were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, well, Milwaukee's dealing with a lot of early season. They're like struggling to stay above water at 500, and the Hawks are 4-8.
It's awesome.
But
it's awesome.
I always thought that the Atlanta run to the conference finals a little fluky. Parentheses, paging Ben Simmons. Where are you?
Yeah, and Knicks. They played the Knicks too, right? And it was like, bing bong. Maybe the Knicks weren't that great. Like I think the Knicks are better now. But you're absolutely right. Like, this basketball season it's already been so interesting. And I don't know if it's because crowds are back or if it's just we have like more parity, which is like fantastic. I just love and the Bulls are back. Like there's an electricity, and they're the best team in the city right now.
Tim Hardaway Jr. said it himself after
Bulls
that
are back,
Bills-Mavs game.
Bulls are back, baby.
Many.
Oh, Tim, I root for you, so I love him.
Remember that time we got to do a segment with his dad?
And
Chicago
Big
guy?
Dave got to tell the story of how his dad got him to like basketball, and he showed him the autograph. Like Big Dave is like a sexy Forrest Gump. His stories are amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah, I know. Our listeners miss him, and I don't blame them. I miss him.
I don't blame him.
But I appreciate you filling in for a day, man. Always a pleasure to have you on.
You.
I miss you. I'm sorry I couldn't go to the game with you on Wednesday. Fighting a little bit of a cold. Wanted to be careful, but can we just like sit down at a bar somewhere and watch a Bulls game sometime soon? Because I think
I would love that. Let's just go to your cool apartment.
Yeah. Dude, you're welcome anytime. I'm a single bachelor.
I've seen your bar setup. You got me covered. Let's go.
I got you covered, baby.
Everybody have my brands.
If you aren't already, follow John Sabine on Twitter at jsabine214. John, can you plug exactly what it is you're doing with this fun Mavs content, or is it still like under the radar?
It's under the radar, but if any Mavs mascot on Twitter interacts with you, just love them. Just be positive, immaculate vibes, making Twitter a more luxurious place for one and all. That's all I can say.
There you go. John, always a pleasure. Hit us up on the Twitter machine. I'm at Bulls_Peck. We are at Locked On Bulls. There's also the text and voicemail line for you, 331-979-1369. Thanks to today's sponsors, Bet Online, Built Bar, and hey, do yourself a favor. Do what John Sabine does. Get yourself some delicious treats from Mickey D's. That's McDonald's for you formal people out there. For John Sabine, I'm Matt, saying until next weekend, Bulls Nation. Until next week, Bulls Nation, have a great weekend. Go Bulls! See Red be good. Peace out.